Mercedes just broke F1, so we're going to be going through that and other stories in today's video. So make sure to like this video, and if you want more Mercedes news content like this, make sure to subscribe to the channel by hitting that red button down below. The 2023 Italian Grand Prix is just around the corner, with only a few days left until the FP1 session of the event. While the hype around it has started to pick to pace, the Mercedes team principal, Toto Wolff, has admitted that his team is fully geared up to have a strong weekend at the Autodromo Nazionale Monza F1 circuit. The Mercedes F1 team had a weekend to forget at the Zandvoort F1 circuit, where they made several pit wall errors. It cost them dearly during the race, and while Lewis Hamilton could somehow crawl his way up to P6 at the end of the race, George Russell ended up in a disappointing P17 after starting the event from P3. While the German outfit is still a bit dejected with its Zandvoort outing, Toto Wolff and company are ready to go again and said, as reported by silverarrows.net, Zandvoort was a frustrating weekend. There was potential, but we failed to capitalize on it. We got the call wrong with the switch to intermediates, and that put us on the back foot. From there, it was about trying to salvage what we could. The missed opportunities are annoying, but weekends like this only fire us up to bounce back even stronger. We've got plenty of learnings to take into the next race. Fortunately, we don't have long to wait for it. Monza's track characteristics are the complete opposite to Zandvoort, so we'll see how we get on. It's also sure to be another spectacular atmosphere this weekend, he added. While Toto Wolff has indicated that the Brackley-based team is fully charged up for a brilliant outing at the Temple of Speed, it will not be like a walk in the park for the likes of George Russell and Lewis Hamilton. Red Bull is out of Mercedes' reach, but the competition behind them is also extremely fierce. The Aston Martin Formula One team made a big step in the right direction at the Zandvoort circuit. As per the event statistics, they were the second fastest team behind the Christian Horner-led Red Bull. Moreover, with the Italian GP being the home race of the Ferrari F1 team, they would also be determined to have a strong outing. Taking everything into account that has been discussed above, the Mercedes F1 team has an uphill battle starting at them. However, Mercedes has exceptional drivers in its arsenal, and they would be fully prepared for the hostile environment that they might have to incur at the track because of the Tifosi army. The weather at Zandvoort was nothing less than a disaster, and Mercedes driver Lewis Hamilton was one of the many who struggled through the race. The Mercedes car has been a heated topic within the team. After the struggles that came in the first few circuits of the Dutch Grand Prix, the driver had a hard time keeping himself on with the slick tires. However, the upgrades or strategies to improve the performance of the W14 have been a failure. Hamilton voiced his anger by criticizing the team's refusal to consider his suggestions for the Zeropods concept. But according to the Briton, it is nothing usual to be frustrated with one's team while involved in a sport like Formula One. Hamilton stated, "Has it been quick enough? W14, maybe not. But the good thing is we've now sat down. We've now said, okay, we're more open-minded. This is maybe the direction we need to go, so let's explore it, and let's get on top of it for next year." The bouncing issue that the English driver and his teammate George Russell have been addressing for a while now proceeds to stay the same. The latter was severely affected by the unexpected turn of events, and he landed at the 17th position from the third spot, which is beneath the team's expectations. The complexities of the car have led fans to speculate that a dissatisfied Hamilton might even exit the team. Discussions have centered on the British driver's contract status since the beginning of the season. Lewis Hamilton and the Mercedes team have been subtly hinting at their plans from the very start, constantly emphasizing their mutual desire to keep the partnership for a couple of more seasons. Now it can be said with certainty that Lewis Hamilton is committed to a new 2-year contract with the Silver Arrows team. This agreement additionally gives him the chance to decide if he wants to continue racing into the forthcoming engine constraints period in 2026. After a rather upsetting Dutch Grand Prix, surprising news surfaced just when the rumors around the Hamilton-Mercedes story appeared to be dying down. This report suggested that Hamilton had surely signed a new multi-year contract with Mercedes. As they go closer to finalizing a new deal, the British driver and the team principal, Toto Wolff, seem to be taking a careful and thoughtful approach. The official announcement of this development for the fans is expected in the near future, notwithstanding the fact that detailed specifics of the deal are still largely unknown to the public. In an era when second place is first of the losers, Mercedes have already conceded defeat in this year's Formula One title race, to focus on winning again next year as Red Bull and their ace Max Verstappen gallivant to both 2023 world titles. No matter what is spun our way, this year's F1 World Championships are over from a contest point of view, with Red Bull having scored double second-place Mercedes in the 2023 F1 Constructors title race, while Verstappen and teammate Sergio Perez topped the drivers' F1 championship table with ease. Hence, no point in wasting resources on the current car, which is pretty much what all their F1 rivals will be doing too. The focus is on next year as Red Bull's dominance is vast. Speaking to reporters ahead of the Italian Grand Prix, Mercedes trackside boss Andrew Shovlin said, "Our ambition is to be challenging for a championship next year. We're optimistic that we can do that. If you look at the step that McLaren have made, it shows that you can make big steps, and we're still understanding a lot about these regulations." As for the current Mercedes W14, which underwent a vast change, W14B, all but in name, away from the ill-fated zero-side pod concept they persisted with for far too long, Shovlin said, "Where we were with this car, and in the constraints of the cost cap, we realized we're not going to be able to shut down that gap to Red Bull this year. Our entire focus is on making sure we can challenge the next year," declared Shovlin. The Dutch Grand Prix was the worst weekend of the year so far for Mercedes. Lewis Hamilton was 6th, while Russell was last of the cars running down in 17th. Shovlin explained, "There's areas where we think our car doesn't have good enough entry stability. When we solve that will benefit both of them, even if one of them's a bit more affected by another. The way you develop a car and the way you look for performance is based very much on physics. And while it might suit one driver a bit more than another, the machine that we're trying to put lap time constantly on the car with is very much linked just to the physics and downforce and stability and balance of this." Whatever the case, Mercedes has little time to ponder the problem, let alone solve it by this weekend in time for the Italian GP. Maybe Monza will be kinder to them, no one knows. Not even them. Ex-Formula One race winner David Coulthard has speculated that Lewis Hamilton's delay in signing a new contract with Mercedes could be down to disagreements on sponsorship commitments. Hamilton's contractual situation has provided one of the headline stories away from the racing this season, with his current deal set to expire at the end of 2023. Both the Britain and Mercedes team principal Toto Wolff have been adamant they intend to extend the hugely successful partnership that has propelled Hamilton to become a 7-time world champion. Wolff claimed ahead of the Canadian Grand Prix in June that he was talking days rather than weeks for a resolution to the saga, with the Austrian chief adding earlier this month that only trivial details remained. However, an announcement is still forthcoming, prompting Coulthard to suggest that discussions over Hamilton's off-track engagements could be behind the weight. Mercedes will want a certain amount of time from Lewis for their partners, Coulthard told the PA news agency. Mercedes will have sold sponsorship on obtaining access to their drivers. Some businesses will have signed up with the Silver Arrows because Lewis is there, rather than George Russell. Perhaps Lewis might be wanting to do fewer days or have fewer commitments. What Lewis will be signing up for goes way beyond him driving at a Grand Prix. It is about what rights he retains in terms of his image and what rights he sells to the team. Mercedes are buying more than just Lewis's driving services. They are buying his promotional image and his PR image. Despite the protracted holdup, Coulthard believes that neither party is having doubts about getting an agreement sorted. "I am not aware Lewis is having a change of heart about whether he wants to go racing or not, and I don't think Mercedes are having second doubts," the Scot added. "I don't think there is any realistic chance that Lewis will leave Mercedes unless there is a major fallout, and I can't see that happening." Who would the major fallout be with? Even if it was with Toto, Lewis's relationship with Mercedes' parent company Daimler is much longer than Toto's emergence as team principal of Mercedes. The 2023 F1 season will resume this weekend with the Dutch Grand Prix at Zandvoort, with Hamilton only a singular point behind ex-rival Fernando Alonso. Hamilton has registered 6 top 4 finishes in the past 7 races since Mercedes introduced its revised W14 at the Monaco Grand Prix to reel in the Spaniard in the fight for third position in the drivers' standings. George Russell has denied that Mercedes is currently the clear second fastest team in Formula One, despite it occupying the runners-up position in the standings. While Red Bull has proven untouchable to win all 13 races to be held to this point in 2023, the pecking order behind the reigning champions has continuously changed. Aston Martin began the campaign as the Austrian outfit's nearest contender, with Fernando Alonso recording 6 podium finishes across the opening 8 rounds. But as the development race intensified, Mercedes and Ferrari became a bigger threat in the European rounds, while McLaren's mid-season resurgence enabled Lando Norris to scoop consecutive podium finishes at the British and Hungarian Grand Prix. However, Mercedes has been able to open up a healthy 40-point advantage over the chasing pack led by Aston Martin, who lead an inconsistent Ferrari by a further 14 points. Nevertheless, Russell believes that the German marque's position in the standings is reflective of the team maximizing most weekends, rather than possessing the outright second fastest car in the field.